Today, Mitch Casey and I are having a look at the Industry Pickup League, week 11, I believe. It was week 11. I had a win, Mitch had a win, so this is a pretty exciting podcast. Well, for me, I haven't had too many wins. This is Fantasy Basketball International. This is Balls Deep.
I hear something.
It's coming from below.
I think you've become mad.
Almost as if something is moving below us.
Act a little peculiar and you're an outsider. Perhaps you've always been mad.
We know this program to bring you a live broadcast from the once defunct but now resurrected lost arts.
Don't you feel it?
Brigham.
Welcome to the Balls Deep podcast, part of the Fantasy Basketball International Podcast Network. I am Adam King at AdamKing91 on Twitter is where you can find me. Bringing Mitch straight in. We're recording this a little bit later than usual. We had some conflicting priorities last night our time, so it's early morning. Hopefully B-Dub gets this up before the start of week 12, but we'll see. Mitch, thanks for getting up nice and early and squeezing me into your busy schedule.
Yeah, no worries, mate. We've got to come on when we both have a win. It's we've got to come on and celebrate and review the week and get this one out to the people. And
despite the dodgy trade that we made, I have decided to have you on the show. Let me bring in. Where are we? Bring up the screen. So as I said, yes, we both did have a win. So we'll go to the trade first because it happened very early in the week following last week's show. I traded away Brook Lopez to you, and you traded to me Chris Paul and Onyeka Okongwu.
Yeah.
It was Lopez is obviously the best player in that trade, and that's fine. I'm not disputing that. Based on the build, I'm still okay with the trade. Like the Chris Paul news was rough. It was what 3 days after the trade or something.
He played
like that.
1 or 2 games, I think, and then
and so look, wasn't great. In saying that, Okongwu was good for me yesterday. He had 5 blocks, played over 30 minutes. So. Look, maybe it turns into an okay trade because I'm not desperate for those blocks. I need more rebounds and field goal percentage, which Okongwu is going to get me if he plays minutes. So, look, not the worst trade in the world, but it was a little bit unfortunate with the injury. I saw him do it and I went, oh, man, he's broken that. Like just his reaction, you could tell. So, anyway, what are you thinking about the trade? Like you're happy with Brook Lopez, obviously.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, first of all, my condolences, because I know that it sucks, because I've still got bloody Evan Mobley sitting on my IR, and he hasn't played a single game for me. So I'm on the other end of the trade. This time it seems like half the trades in this league seem to immediately end up with an injury to one of the players traded. So that kind of sucks. But no, I am happy with Brook Lopez. The trade was... I sent the trade to you and it was conditional because I wanted to pick up a player off the waiver wire in Trey Jones after the trade went down because I thought that there was potential that he could not replace Chris Paul, but kind of give me those assists that I was losing. So getting an upgrade in my blocks, which I think will be a key category when it comes to particularly my matchup with Drew Dinkmeyer, who's currently now in the first place position in the standings. So I think he's going to be a guy that, he's got players like Rudy Gobert and things like that. So blocks are going to come down to or be a key category in that matchup. So Brook will hopefully help me there. And I thought I could sort of withstand the loss of Chris Paul, assuming that I could grab someone like a Trey Jones on the waiver wire. And then he went down injured. So that's, it's fortunate for me, unlucky for you. But I think the initial trade made sense for both teams.
It did. And so if we look at our matchups from last week, I'll quickly run through mine. So as I said, I did have a win, and I spoke about this on last week's show that I was up against Mike Barner and that I was pretty confident I'd get a few categories and then I'd need a couple of things to go my way, one of them being assists, which did not go my way, but steals did. So I ended up winning 5-4 but I won by 1 steal. So it was pretty rough going until Marcus Smart decided to actually pull his finger out. He got 3 steals late in that game. He was on 0 for a long time, and then he got 3 in about 10, 15 minutes. So he got me over the line by 1 steal. Blocks were pretty close and rebounds were pretty close. I only won by 5 rebounds as well. So there were a few categories here that went right down to the wire. And I racked up those blocks, and I picked up where are we? I had to decide who to play yesterday. So I had some lineup decisions with Dayron Sharp, Larry Nance, and Onyeka Okongwu, deciding who to play. There wasn't a sort of a clear winner in that sort of looking at those players, but Dayron Sharp injured his knee, which didn't look great. So I'm sort of deciding now. I've got Chris Paul on my IR spot, but I might just end up dropping him because he's going to miss probably 6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks, they're saying. So with an old guy, you sort of, I guess, expect it more to be the 5 or 6.
Yeah. So I think I'll move potentially Dayron Sharp because he's been pretty good. So we don't have word on his injury yet from Brooklyn, but he has been good. So I'll probably just drop him in there and hold him until we get word on how long he's going to be out. But no, look, my team is going along okay at the moment. I'm probably going to have to make a couple of decisions soon because Nikola Vucevic is back. So my Andre Drummond joy is probably going to come to an end shortly. I'll hold him until the very last minute because we know, I mean, he could still get me 10 rebounds and 2 steals and a block in 15 minutes off the bench. So potentially I end up holding him. I'm not sure. And I've sort of, by adding, if I look at my roster from when I started the season, I've added Andre Drummond, Okongwu, Larry Nance, Dayron Sharp, Nick Richards. So all very low turnover guys. So I've actually become quite competitive in that category, which means I don't need to focus on assists as much now. It's more about steals. Hence, I've picked up Matisse Thybulle, perennial steals stream specialist. So we'll see if he can get healthy. Maybe he can get me some steals and I can eke out some victories over the next few weeks and possibly make a run at that 6th spot. I'm not confident, but let's have a look at your matchup. You did me a favor. You beat Noah Rubin 6-3. So
I'm trying to help you out. He's one of the players or one of the teams that is ahead of you in the. So he's now 1 spot ahead of you in that 8th spot. But there's a big clump of players between 5 and 8 on the standings. So yeah, trying to get you in there, Kingy. We're trying to get you into the playoffs. So I'll do my best.
Yeah, and I've looked at the matchups this week, and there's a couple of guys that are playing some hot teams and stuff. So if I can eke out another win, maybe I can get to within 2 or 3 wins of that 6th seed, and we'll see. But so yeah, you won 6-3. Going through your categories here, would you say it was a fairly comfortable win?
Yeah, I was very comfortable. The thing that I was really pushing for was trying to get a 7-2 win, but wasn't able to do that with the 3s I went just down in. So in my final day, I benched a few players that I would normally start in an attempt to get that win. So I benched a player like Sabonis. We ended up getting a 3 anyway. I benched Clint Capella. There was someone else. But anyway, I was trying to get all my 3-point shooters out on that final day and didn't quite come up, but I was happy enough to get the 6-3 win. Darren Fox did his best to try and tank my field goal percentage on that last day and make it a 5-4 win, but we held on and did okay there. So, no, it felt pretty comfortable for the entirety of the matchup, to be honest. I got a bit lucky with Noah Rubin having a few injuries. I think he had Michael D'Anthony Melton out for a bit of time. Jimmy Butler missed the entire week. Joel Embiid played all of his games, so he was out the previous week, so that came in and helped him. But, yeah, it really was, I guess, a pretty comfortable win. So but the big boys are going pretty good at the moment. 3 wins on the trot, all of them 6-3 or 7-2. So I've made up a bit of ground in the standings and now sit 4th with a little bit of a gap. What is that? 4.5 games ahead of the person in 5th spot. So me and Rhett Bauer are kind of in a little bit of a clump on our own, sitting in 3rd and 4th at the moment. So gives me a little bit of breathing room in the next few weeks to kind of not be constantly streaming and have a little bit more of a long picture in, long-term picture in mind. And I will need it against Josh Lloyd, who I'm versing this week, who has slid a little bit from the start of the season.
He has, yeah. He's dropped back to 2nd. But both he and Drew are sort of out ahead there by, 7, 8 wins. Then there's yourself and Rhett Bauer, as you said, on about the same record, 54, 55 wins. Then a little gap back to that 5th to 8th. They're all on 49 wins, and then it's back to me in 9th spot on 45 wins. So now I am up against Alex Reclean this week, who sits behind me in the standings on 39 wins. So possibly another chance for a victory if I can get some things to go my way. And as I said, Noah, I think plays. Let me have a look.
Noah's got Rhett.
Noah's got Rhett,
Yep.
and Rhett's playing well. Mike has. Who does Mike have? You've probably got.
Mike's got Drew Dinkmeyer, so he's got a tough matchup as well.
Yep.
And then B-Dub versus Mike Barner. Microtron versus.
Yep. And B-Dub's playing well at the moment. His team. He beat Josh last week. And then did he have a win this?
I think he had a loss actually.
Week?
Yeah, he's a bit up and down.
This past week. Okay.
I want to say, he lost to Dan Titus actually. So he goes from beating Josh, number 1
losing
in the league,
to Dan,
to losing to Dan, who's 2nd last. So a bit up and down for the old.
Okay. So yeah. Look, I mean, there is an opportunity here for if I could get to within 3 wins. 2 wins. I mean, you just never know. But that's the one issue with punting, and I talk about this all the time, is I love punting and it can be a really positive strategy. But one downside is that I'm not usually in a position to be able to win 6-3 or 7-2 because I'm just not good enough in those other categories. So as you said, you've had a couple of those wins in the last few weeks, which has bumped you up from – because we were sort of close there for a little bit.
We were. I've had a couple of lucky ones as well. Like one week I won threes. I think there was a week I won free throw percentage, which are 2 categories that I am punting. So luck can go your way. And that has, for me at least, making those wins that would normally have been 5-4, 6-3, and 7-2. So, a little bit of luck there, I would say, because I too am punting a couple of categories. But if you're punting multiple, so 3 or 4. Then it does start to become, a bit tougher.
Makes it tough. So if we look at your roster now, I've got it up on the screen, relatively healthy. You've got Mobley and Lively on the bench, but they're sort of permanent fixtures in your IR spot at the moment.
Yes.
Unfortunately. So I mean, if we sort of look down and you go, is this guy playing well? Is he not? Bradley Beal has looked better, I think.
He has, yes. He has helped me the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. So that's good. Persistence paid off there. Scotty Barnes is still doing his thing. He was pretty ordinary yesterday, but that was, I think you could probably argue, his worst game of the season. Probably has scaled back slightly since OG left. I think they're asking Barnes to do a little bit more on the defensive end. So his numbers have taken a little bit of a hit, but he's still been really good. And then Giannis, Sabonis, Lopez, Henderson. I mean, I'm assuming you're not even considering dropping Scoot Henderson at the moment, but
no,
he does tank your percentages.
The good thing about anyway. The good thing about my team is that I am very, very strong in the field goal percentage anyway. So his hits to my percentages really, unless it's another team that's really strong in field goal percentage, it doesn't really hurt my team. So almost when I'm evaluating like the back end of my roster, I'm kind of in a weird way punting field goal percentage when I'm evaluating their contribution to my team. So for someone like Scoot, yes, he's shooting 37%, but overall my team is shooting like 54% for the season. So, he might take me from 54 to 53. Like, it's still pretty much top of the standings there. So he is someone that I'm very happy to have him in there. He's helped my assists and points the last few weeks. I've actually been winning a lot of the points categories, which I wasn't at the start of the season. So that's been very nice. And he's a kind of player that in this format where you've got the games cap, depending on the opponent, I can choose to deploy him and chase the assists and chase the points, or I can choose to bench him a little bit more and really preserve my turnovers or preserve my field goal percentage if I think that's going to be the deciding category. So he's a bit of like a matchup play in that regard. So I'm very happy with what he's been doing. Haven't really ever considered dropping him because I think he's going to continue to get better.
Yeah. And the player you mentioned, you picked him up following our trade, was Trey Jones, who's been really good this week playing as the starter. I mean, we can't predict the future. We don't know what the Spurs are doing, but do you think there's a chance Trey Jones just sticks as the starter now, even once Branham is back?
I think it's 50-50, to be honest. I think it might stick for a little while, but this Spurs team has been switching it up so regularly that I doubt that it's going to be like a consistent, smooth ride. So I'm fully prepared for him to, at any moment, go back to the bench. But even in a bench role, again, bit of a plug-and-play kind of a person that, if he gets minutes in the low to mid-20s, he can still give me some assists and steals. And if that is a key matchup or a key category that I need to win, even in a bench role, I can put him out there for some games. So for now, it's looking good. And when I picked him up, he wasn't starting just yet, but quickly went into that starting role. So fingers crossed that it stays that way. But yeah, it is not one that I'm super comfortable in his role moving forward.
No, and as you said, though, the last two games he started, he's had basically 35 minutes a night, 18 points. I'm just doing averages in my head here. 5 assists, 1.5 steals, 3.5 rebounds. Doesn't really hit you a lot of threes, but he's not unlike Scoot, he's relatively efficient for a guard.
Yep.
Doesn't take a lot of shots. So no, he's been a nice pickup the last couple of games. Anyone else on your roster there that sort of stands out, that had a really strong week, that you're concerned about? Anything at all?
No one that I'm super concerned about. I picked up Josh Hart in the beginning of the week as someone that I thought might benefit a little bit with the trade over in New York. His minutes have been, I want to say, like relatively higher than the previous sort of chunk of the season, but his production's been a bit below average. I haven't used him in any games yet so far. I do need on my team one other small forward eligible player for whenever Scotty Barnes doesn't have a 4-game week. I need to have someone that plugs into that spot. Yeah. So Josh Hart fills that need for me at the moment, but he is probably someone that is the closest to me dropping at this stage and streaming on the waiver wire, as is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but I've got him there for sort of just his steals, to be honest. He's a guy that on most weeks can give me a few steals. And if I ever come close to winning threes, I can also throw him out there. But he doesn't hurt me anywhere, gives me some steals, doesn't turn the ball over. Josh Hart and KCP are probably the two guys at the back end of my roster, which are the closest to being dropped. Or if I suddenly get a healthy team, they'll be the ones to make way for that. But I am still on the lookout for a more steady, reliable, small forward player, but just haven't found one yet.
Yeah, and as you said, Hart has benefited from the trade in terms of his playing time. He's basically playing 30 minutes a night now off the bench, but his numbers haven't been great.
No,
I've got DiVincenzo in another league, and he's played pretty well since that trade as well. But they're actually closing with Josh Hart in a lot of instances over DiVincenzo. So I'd be happy for Josh Hart to lose some minutes here and you drop him and pick someone else up so that DiVincenzo starts playing 30 minutes a night. So no, look, your team is sort of set at the moment, rolling along quite nicely. Fingers crossed, no injuries. I see you've got Alex Caruso there. He's questionable for tonight. Yes,
Yeah, he's got
questionable.
a whiplash injury, which, just added to the list for Alex Caruso and his injuries for the season. He's had, ankles and knees and now a neck. So, yeah, well, we'll see how we go. Hopefully he gets out there. Like I said, I'm versing Josh this week. So he got me in week 1. So we've now officially versed everyone else in the league. So the standings there are a good reflection of, I guess, the first round of one-on-one matchups. So hopefully I can get my revenge this week and verse Josh and get the W. I feel like it's a more fair reflection this week than week 1, which we all know is a bit of a wacky one.
It was, yeah. So running down my roster, anyone that's been listening knows I'm very heavy in the centre department. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 centre eligible players on my roster. 8 if I include Dayron Sharp. So one I guess piece of news that came out yesterday: Markel Fultz returned finally.
Your boy, finally, he's in.
And I didn't play him yesterday, which didn't really matter. He didn't really have a good game, but he's going to play limited minutes. We don't have a plan as such for him, but I would assume, given how well they're playing at the moment, they're not going to rush him back. He'll continue to come off the bench, I would say, for the foreseeable future. Didn't do a lot yesterday. 4 assists, a steal, missed all 4 of his free throws, which is a little concerning.
I saw somewhere, I didn't watch the game, but I saw somewhere someone noticed that the hitch in his shoulder is definitely back. But
it's a bit worrying.
I haven't watched that one, so we'll have to check him out next time he plays.
Yeah, and look, I don't really need his free throw percentage. I've sort of gone from a punting field goal percentage to punting free throws now with the addition of Andre Drummond and Larry Nance and Okongwu. I'm leaning more into that field goal percentage build. So I'm not too worried now about if he doesn't hit his free throws in this league. In other leagues, I am. But as I said, Drummond, he could end up being a drop. Nick Richards has been rolling along quite nicely, and Mark Williams has no timetable on his return. So I'll just keep plugging him in. I'm a little bit worried this week because Wembanyama has 3 games, but he has a back-to-back. So there is a chance that he only plays in one of those games, which means I only get 2 games from Wemby this week, which is a little bit frustrating.
Do you have any of the one-game boys? Is it the Nets and who was the other team? The Cavs?
Nets and Cavs. Yeah, no, it's just Dayron Sharp who I've got in my IR spot.
And does Alex have anyone of there from either of those?
Let me have a look.
What has he got?
So he has...
No, it doesn't look like. I was just wondering if you were going to get a bit of a leg up in that department. So, no, it doesn't look like he's got anyone there. With the
no, he doesn't. So he's got... Yeah, and look, I mean, his team, obviously he's struggling a bit like me. But he has... I mean, he's got a talented squad there, like Devin Booker, Ja Morant, if he plays. Pascal Siakam, Bam Adebayo, Brandon Pajemski, Steph Curry... like there's names there. He's got a good team, although I would say, I don't know, I think I'm going to be okay in my big man stats, and it's probably again going to come down.
I don't think you're not going to need all the blocks this week. It looks like. I'm pretty sure Alex is punting blocks in this league. So So look, that might mean that not having sort of Dayron Sharp and maybe if Thibault is healthy, I plug Thibault in to get me those steal numbers. Maybe I play Fultz because I only need some steals from him and nothing else. So, look, we'll see as the week goes ahead. Fingers crossed I can pull out another victory, but we'll touch base in a week and see how we went. Hopefully we'll come back another 2 victory men here. That'd be the goal.
Yeah, that would be a rare double. All right, well, I'm gonna get ready and head to work. You've got things to do. let people know
Absolutely.
what you've got going on just quickly before I do it.
Yeah. Jump on in over at the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball YouTube channel and podcast. Hit subscribe and check out all our videos over there. Should have some more videos coming this week. We'll be breaking down some of the games later on in the week with the heavier slate games on the Wednesday night. Some sell high players coming tomorrow. And and if you are an Aussie out there, or if you do just watch AFL, check out the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast, which is also dropped and is underway as of last week. So, and follow me on Twitter at Ball Boys Fantasy.
Yeah, I was talking to there's a few AFL fans at my work, and we talk during the season. We talk daily about AFL, but we're not talking as much at the moment. But he just got back from leave, and he was telling me, because I hadn't really. Like you, I don't do fantasy, so I haven't dived into AFL yet and looked at schedule and all that sort of stuff. But the schedule this year is a little weird. There's an opening round.
Yeah,
which
it's opening round and then there's bye rounds in the second week and the third week, and it's a bit wonky.
And you know why they're doing that, I assume?
Yeah, so because the NRL are doing a bit of stuff in the Vegas, there was some stadiums that were free and some other things going on. So the AFL jumped at the chance to try and get a bit more of a New South Wales and Queensland audience going. But the weird thing is that then they decided that the next week they were going to have a normal round one instead of doing kind of like a split week one, which is what I would have done. But I think it is because they've got an earlier access to those stadiums, and they're trying to pinch a little bit the Queensland, New South Wales audience, I think, is the idea. Yeah,
and look, if it means football earlier, then I'm all for it. So whatever I do, it's because by that time, so what sort of early March?
Yeah, we've got 2 months.
NBA sort of ramping down a little bit unless you're in the playoffs, and I probably won't be in the playoffs in this league. So I will be focusing on my football a little bit more. So I'll certainly be. I'm going to play fantasy AFL this year as well. So
jump on board, mate.
Yeah, I have no idea who I'm drafting or who I want yet, so I'm going to have to start listening to your content. And so I know a good podcast, mate. I know a good podcast. I'll hit you up for the details. So that will do it for today's show. Remember, check out all of our stuff over at fbibasketball.com. We now have 6 weekly shows, so we're getting towards our goal of 7. I have 3 shows. This is sort of a bonus show. I'm not counting this as a regular show. I have 3. Mike Fiddle just launched his new show, Checkball, last night. So he has 2 shows, and Noah Rubin, of course, has his show. And then Matt Lawson has his Dynasty show, but he has young kids and a busy life, so he'll get to it at some point. And then we will have our 7, so that will be exciting. You can check us out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, like and subscribe. If you are watching us on YouTube, that would be great. Until next time, catch up.
See ya.
You just listened to another episode from the Fantasy Basketball International Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us. And for more information about joining our community, please check out our website at fbibasketball.com.